Moin Whisky-Fans, willkommen bei den Malt Mariners. Ich bin gerade zu Gast in Schweden bei
Roger Melander, Master Distiller at High Coast Distillery in Sweden.
Und jetzt gibt es 10 Fragen an High Coast Distillery. Let's go. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here in a very busy time. It's right in the middle of the High Coast Whiskey Festival. I didn't know it is happening, so I was invited by a friend over here. So thank you for squeezing the time in to have this interview. First of all, I would like to ask you if making whiskey here was a board game. Could you explain the rules to, like, if somebody from Australia or India is watching and has no idea about Swedish whiskey, could you explain maybe your special features about Swedish whiskey? Because we're in Europe, so 3 years old has to be the whiskey and it's in the European surroundings, but Sweden seems to be very special in making whiskey.
Yeah, the rules are the same as in the rest of Europe. What we have in the rest of Europe contain, compared to the United Kingdom and Scotland, that we can mature our whiskey in any wooden cask.
Yes.
So since 1990 it must be oak in Scotland, but we have some chestnut and other trees as well. I got asked before what's special about Swedish whiskey, and I said more than 20 distillers making whiskey in Sweden today.
Yeah.
And the only common thing is we're rather young, and most of us are managed by people with a lot of passion.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different styles of the Swedish whiskies.
So it's very diverse, you would say?
It is.
Yeah. I think, like, one thing that I realized when I came here, it's a beautiful setup, a beautiful distillery and a beautiful visitor center. Obviously, I will show you pictures of that. There's no whiskey to sell in the shop.
No, they recently changed, so we have the monopoly. So
yeah.
About 460 stores in Sweden was the only way you can buy alcohol in Sweden. But recently they changed, so as a producer, if you do wine, beer or whiskey, other liquors, you can buy a bottle of whiskey from the producer, but there are a lot of rules. So if you're making more than 75,000 liters a year,
okay,
you're not allowed to sell any alcohol.
Okay,
on
so
site.
Okay, the smaller distilleries can sell their alcohol.
Smaller
okay.
can. So there are a few that started to sell on site, but they need to talk to them for at least half an hour, and they need to inform them about the risk of drinking alcohol.
Oh, okay.
And so on. So it's still a bit messy.
So it's a set of rules they have to follow before they can actually sell a bottle of alcohol.
And they, after 5 years or something, that they will evaluate and see if they can change anything.
Okay.
I hope they do it much earlier.
Yeah. So there is a central shops where you can buy High Coast whiskey in Sweden, but you cannot really buy it at the distillery at the moment. But it will change.
Hopefully it will change.
Yeah. Okay. Fingers crossed.
So we are much too big. 75,000 liters. It's nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So let's talk about the location. It's quite special. So yes. I mentioned already we are in Sweden. Where in Sweden are we, and how does this location influence your final product or the whiskey?
Geographically, we are in the middle part of Sweden. Sweden is a rather tall country, but most Swedes would say it's the northern part because most of the population is in the south.
Yeah.
So we're about 500 kilometers north of Stockholm, our capital. The things about this place, except for it's very beautiful, we have a lot of water in the river outside. We're taking a cooling water, so I guess we have the coolest cooling water in the whiskey world, and that's a good thing. The other thing is we have really good water for production. It's ultra soft. It's almost too clean to work with. And the third thing is we have huge difference in temperature in the warehouse. So the temperature could be below 30 degrees in the winter.
Wow.
Minus, and the highest I measured inside the warehouse is 28 degrees plus, so about 60 degrees difference.
Oh, that's huge.
Which makes the interactive maturation very intense.
Which is interesting because people, I think when people think about Sweden, they might think of a colder climate and therefore a slower maturation. But that's actually the opposite because you have such a big difference. That
Well, we have
quicker.
different type of maturation during summer and during winter.
Okay.
But to be honest, 30 degrees minus is too bloody cold.
Yeah.
Minus 15 would be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say then that your whiskey will be aged quicker in terms of it might be have a higher interaction with the wood, so it tastes a bit older than maybe?
In average, we have higher temperature than we have in Scotland.
Yes.
So the additive maturation goes a bit quicker, but since we have this fluctuation in temperature, we get more of exotic fruit flavors during the autumn, winter, and spring.
I just love the fact that is why I love to talk about a distiller, because he said additive maturation, and this is something that many people misunderstand about maturation. That they think maturation is you can speed it up, but you can only speed up the additive maturation, and not the subtractive way of things. And this is always something I talk about my tastings to people, to understand that Indian whiskey is not double the age than Scottish whiskey or otherwise. So it seems to be a big influence from the surroundings and from the from the setup. Who would you say is your whiskey for, and maybe who is it not for?
Oh, the thing is, I can only make whiskey that I like myself, and then I hope that other feel the same.
Yeah.
So we can't make whiskey that we know would sell, but we can't stand for the quality. So
yeah.
So anyone with a good taste.
Yeah. So you try to aim for your taste and hope people have the same or agree?
Yes. Yeah. And we, like in the market in Sweden, we look a bit more in the premium segment.
Yeah.
So they have other whiskey producers that have a bit cheaper whiskey, cheaper and younger whiskey, and we are slightly higher in both price and quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your taste then? When you say you try to aim for your taste, like your tasting profile. If somebody has never tried High Coast whiskey before, or formerly known as box whiskey, maybe some people might know this whiskey as box whiskey. Now it's called High Coast. How would you describe your profile? How would you describe the whiskey?
We do two different main recipes.
Yeah.
About 85% of our production is unpeated. Pilsner barley malt from Sweden, and I'm looking a bit more like a Japanese style of flavor for that whiskey.
Okay.
So clean, malty, fruity flavors. And we also do some peated whiskey, and you can't make a peated whiskey without looking at the west coast of Scotland, for instance. But I'm not trying to copy any producer, but we have some peated, and normally it's around 40-45 ppm fennels. Currently we're doing 105, and earlier this spring we did 128 ppm, which I guess is the peatiest malt used in Sweden so far.
Yeah.
We do some organic malt as well, organic whiskey. There's no market for organic whiskey today, but the whiskey, the spirit I make today, I will sell in maybe 12, 13 years, and who knows what the market wants at that time.
So the peated malt, does that come from Scotland? Because it's always a big problem.
Mostly from Scotland.
Yeah.
We have some from Belgium first, and then mostly Scotland. But I also tried from Germany, but mostly from Scotland.
What would you have liked to know when you started making whiskey here?
In the very beginning, when we started up the distillery, we did it in the winter time. It was bloody cold. Everything was freezing. So I would have known to not start a new site in the middle of the winter. Otherwise, it would go. I was aiming for some styles of whiskey. I was aiming for having a premium, ongoing product with unpeated recipe, but showing in mostly first fill and some second fill bourbon. aged about 12 to 15 years old. That was my goal.
Yeah.
But we, of course, needed to sell jungle whiskey,
Yeah.
because it's bloody expensive to produce whiskey. And I'm looking for building up a huge stock so that we in the future can bottle big volumes of old whiskey.
Yeah.
So we have a bit more than 20,000 casks in the warehouse at the moment.
Yeah.
Producing 7 days a week, 2 batches a day, so 2.5 ton malts per day.
So you're in a full production.
We're full production.
So it sounds like you're in a healthy status of distillery. Because
Yeah.
I was a bit not worried about you guys, but since McMura closed down, which is used to be or is one of the bigger or maybe the biggest, not sure, distillery in Sweden.
Well, with both sites they have, the older one and the new one, they had a higher capacity than we have. But I guess at the moment we produce more than all the rest in Sweden.
Yeah, but it's good to hear that you seem to be in a good position.
Yes,
right now.
we are. I'm
Cool.
just looking for bigger volume of especially our brand Berg. That's hugely popular.
So you started with a lot of bourbon casks, and so that means you have a deep stock of first bourbon casks then?
Some casks I buy, I knew it from before I get them that this will be a whiskey a couple of years or 5-6 years later. But I put most of the spirits in fresh bourbon casks because I can bottle them as they are, and I can blend that whiskey with anything else.
Perfect. Yeah. So what would you say is your biggest challenge right now?
Well, the thing is, we have done this for almost 15 years now, and I guess we have passed through most of the really hard challenges. So I'm getting a good feeling at the moment that we are just keeping what we're doing.
So the biggest challenges are behind you? What have they been maybe? Just if you can name one that might have been something you said, I'm lucky we dodged that, or we're done.
Finance is always a problem because even if we have good profit, we always need cash flow. The last warehouse I built last summer, just a year ago, was about 1.8 million euros for an empty building.
Yeah.
So things cost, and sometimes casks and barrels are bloody expensive. For instance, in this autumn, I had to pay up to $285 for a bourbon cask. Now I'm back to $120. So 1,200.
No,
$120 today. But in October it was like $285.
Jesus. Okay.
And
big change in.
Big change,
okay.
And before that it was almost around 100. So.
Yeah. Okay. So the sixth question, I think you already answered about the size and the output of the whiskey. How is the ownership at the moment organized? Because I read about something about it, but
yeah, we are on Nasdaq First North, so we have several thousand of shareholders. But if you take the 3 biggest ones, they almost own about half of the company.
Yeah.
Especially the votes.
So would you say then it's an independently owned company?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we can definitely say it's not owned by a big corporation.
No, it's not.
What are you most proud of?
I'm proud of a lot of things. The quality of what we're making, I'm really proud of my staff, the guys in production. I'm proud of a lot of things, actually.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
It's good if you can say that. And if you can say, I'm proud of a lot of things. Great. If you have to pick one Scotch whiskey distillery to accompany High Coast, if you were a company that owns more than one distillery.
So a partner or owned by, or what?
You own the distillery, you have to play with, you can play with.
Okay, if I own another company in Scotland? Oh,
yeah.
That's a good question. I really like some of the new distillers. Knocknien, for instance, has really good new make. Anna Mörchen is a nice new make as well. But both of them are rather young, so compared to this one, I would like to have a distillery with a stock with really old, marvelous whiskey.
Yeah.
And there aren't many in Scotland today with a lot of old stock. It's a tough one. It's a really tough one.
You have time, I can cut it.
I probably would like to be the one that restart Brora.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have any stock of old Brora, but to do something with the style of early 70s of Brora will be a challenge.
Yeah. I've never actually tasted Brora, but I love Clynelish, and I love a peated version of that. So I'm probably gonna love Brora if I ever taste them.
Early 70s Brora is a really good one.
Yeah. Love the fact that you mentioned Knocknien and Anna Mörchen, because they're my favorite two new distilleries in Scotland right now, just from the profile and people making it also. And if you would pick one world whiskey, so no Scotch, no Irish, outside of these kind of, and maybe not a Swedish distillery as well, since you're in Sweden.
Yoichi in Japan is a good one.
Which is my favorite Japanese distillery. So we seem to have a very good. It's personal, obviously. It's always personal taste, but I love Yoichi distillery. It's a fantastic whiskey, and a very old one as well compared to Japan. If you could change one thing with your whiskey, what would that be?
I would rather change some rules, regulations all over the world. I don't like colored whiskey, so E150 shouldn't be allowed to put in a whiskey. I would like to almost every whiskey be bottled above 46% and no chill filtration. That's something I would change. And since we don't chill filter our whiskey and always bottled above 46% and no caramel, I guess I wouldn't change anything. If I wanted to change anything, I've done it already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Perfect. Should I make a quick cut? You want to check if?
No.
Okay.
I can wait.
Yeah. Perfect. That will be the last question, the number 10. If you think about your whiskey, what is the single word that comes to your mind?
Passion.
Nice. Now you have to spot if you have anything you want to say, or a story you want to tell, or something I did not ask you. You can say that right now. Otherwise, we're basically we're done.
Yeah, I think we covered the most.
Yeah, I think that was a very good conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm really looking forward to try a lot of High Coast whiskey today. I can't wait. I saw the bar downstairs. I show you some pictures. There's loads of bottles down there, and I really can't wait to taste. I've already tasted some before, but it's always different to taste the whiskey on site.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation, and see you next time down the road.